Hello and welcome to a special episode of The Scoop. We will not be talking too much transfers or Juventus at all today unless we have some good questions from the chat. Instead, we're going to take the opportunity to be talking a little World Cup because, Frederic, how often is it that the country in which I reside plays the country in which you reside for anything meaningful?
I don't think it ever happened before, and I doubt we'll get to see another event like this in the near future. So, all enough reason for us to jump on a podcast.
And under normal circumstances, just another game. I don't know if it would warrant I don't know, too much discussion, but this one, this one has some controversy surrounding it. At least that's what I'm told from the rest of the world. I don't know, Frederic. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing a lot of controversy and a lot of how shall I put it? A lot of it's strange vibe. Like I don't think that the US and Belgium are, lethal foes in that regard. I think, especially soccer nation speaking, they kind of respect and like each other, as far as I'm concerned. But then you get this mix up of a red card being overturned and Trump making calls and whatever, and that just pours a little gasoline on the fire, in my opinion.
Well, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about kind of what we feel like is the expected starting lineups and how confident we feel in those lineups against our respective teams. We will make predictions, and we will touch briefly on the confidence level we have for our teams against the opponent waiting for us in the next round, which is Spain, who just finished defeating Portugal 1-0. This is a live show, so real quick, just want to turn to the folks who are already commenting in chat. We got Shashko, Federico, Ahmad Sako, Lauda, Ali, Harvard, who's welcoming me back. Yes, I've been gone in Scotland for about a week and a half. So it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back with Frederic, as well as Josh and all the other ones who are attending and will be commenting. We appreciate you. So, Frederic, we have to start with the controversy around this game. Let's sort of just map it out for anybody who, like me, was on vacation and maybe has not been paying attention to the World Cup news and buzz. So in the last round, Bosnia, USA striker Folarin Balogun got a red card, which usually means they are suspended for the next game. And by usually, I mean, based on my research, there's been only one overturned red card in the World Cup, in the history of the World Cup, and it happened back in the 60s.
With Garincha, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And so it's not, that's why we say usually suspended for the next game. I think pretty much every single USA fan, if not global fan of football, was thinking that Balogun would be suspended for the next game. Well, lo and behold, within the last 48 hours, we discovered that's not the case. He is eligible to play. And at least from the U.S. press perspective, I don't know how many folks in chat have seen this, or Frederic, if you've seen this, but people are very happy about this here. Our president has come out saying how appreciative he is about FIFA righting this severe wrong. Senator from my state said the same thing in a press conference and all of this stuff. Frederic, what has the press in Belgium been saying, and what else are you hearing from folks around the globe about their reaction to this?
Well, as far as Belgian reactions, I kind of think that the media and the people kind of think it's a shame, not a disgrace as has been muttered by other people, but a shame in the sense that you take something away from the sport because you have a referee on pitch who can make a bad call because he's human. So I mean, no harm, no foul there. But you also have your VAR team who can basically revert decisions that, influence the game by a great deal, that also didn't do it. And now you have, in just a matter of almost 72 hours, FIFA going against his own rules. And we have no idea as to what or why. We can only guess and gossip in the sense that we think that it's a Trump Infantino thing. But it takes a lot away from the sport. Takes a lot away from the game. A very tense game. A very. I think as a neutral supporter, could be a very beautiful game to watch because you have sides that love playing attacking football and don't just simply adjust to their opponents. So I think, and I kind of stand on. I think it was Thibaut Courtois who said it yesterday. He said, "Well, I've been prepping and I've looked at every striker that the U.S. has, how they shoot, what their gimmick is, or how they take penalties. And now because of the fact that FIFA overturns this, I haven't had the chance to do the same for Balogun, which kind of sets us back."
Yeah,
Because you've
the
been training for a couple of days now with the notion that, the US will have to play without Balogun.
mhm.
And now it gets kind of reverted. So that throws a monkey wrench in your whole program, I assume. But the sentiment that, is kind of describing the vibe in Belgium is it's funny, it's sad, it's strange, it's not negative in the sense that, oh no, we're being scammed. It's kind of like, where do we draw the line? And also, within the future, because and correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe that's my Belgian sentiment speaking, but I didn't
Mhm.
think that this would have happened if it happened to Cabo Verde or the People's Republic of Congo or whatever. So, it kind of sheds some bad light onto a beautiful game and a beautiful tournament, as far as I'm concerned.
That has nothing to do with the players, right? I mean, it's politicking, right? And that's real ugly. Let's take it step by step. In your opinion, Josh is kind of talking about the foul that Balogun got the red card for. Was that a red card foul in your opinion?
Well, yes and no. It wasn't intentional, and I can see why a lot of people say, well, he shouldn't have been sent off. But you could also see the damage that he done. And according to FIFA regulations, if you bring any damage or you place an adversary or person on the pitch in danger of a serious injury, that's a direct red card, whether intentional or not. So if you follow the rules and the guidelines, then it's a red. If you take a look back at what happened at Cali at the Galatasaray game, it was kind of similar situation where you say, well, a ref should read that, or at least the VAR room should, and say, okay, well, it's a foul. It's an unintentional one, a very unfortunate one. What do we do? Do we follow the handbook and give out the straight red? Or do we, or are we a bit more lenient and look into the the whole context within the game and within that situation, and just maybe even give out a yellow and whatever. So, it's not my job to say red or no red. I think it's kind of
But
a
it
I just
matters. But it matters because I think for a lot of folks, they're saying, and I'm going to say it wasn't a red card. Therein
no.
opens the door for people to justify rescinding the red card. Now we're not. I'm actually not actually going to defend rescinding the red card. But if you think it's a red card, there's no world where it should be rescinded, right? No world,
No.
right? Because if it's truly a red card foul, that you got to serve the punishment, right?
Yeah.
So it does matter. It does matter as we sort of digest the nonsense surrounding uh, the red card and then the rescission of that red card, right?
Yeah, and that's my issue surrounding this whole circus. It has become a circus right now, at least in Belgium it has, but we don't have a lot of news to report anyway. But um, if you have a referee who can make a mistake, and he does, okay, but then you still have the VAR room. And if two parties concerning that game have the same opinion in the sense that they think it's a red, then you should just push through with that. Because which referee and which VAR referee is going to feel comfortable right now, knowing that, things might just be overturned in with the flick of a switch? Because if I'm a referee in a game and I kind of lean on my VAR assistance for a situation that I find difficult to judge or I might have, doubts about, and you say, well, it's okay, it's our decision, and we're gonna, I don't know, pull out a red, and afterwards FIFA comes out and says, well, no, we're just gonna revert that or whatever. I just think you give out the wrong message, and as Il Capitano says, they didn't
Well,
rescind they postponed
he,
the
he's right.
the
He's right. He's right.
period.
So this is what FIFA has done with Ronaldo, where I think he had a 3-game ban, and they postponed the 2 latter games for like a year. As to this situation, I think it's a difference without a distinction, right? If you can use your ban at some rando friendly against Trinidad in 6 months, um, that's a big difference than serving it in the World Cup. Um,
Yeah,
when your team will need you a lot more.
but also in other tournaments, I feel if you look at, we as Juventini have witnessed Nedved missing out on the final due to his third yellow in the semis against Real Madrid, which wasn't even a yellow to begin with, but that's another discussion. But that's something as harsh, as cruel, and as painful as it is, you have to deal with, because those are the mechanics of the game. Those are the
Mhm.
rules made before the game, knowing full well which they entail if you encounter such situations. So you're upset, you're emotional, you're pissed off, you're frustrated, but in the end, you know that there was a risk, if you know what I mean. And
Mhm.
and now by postponing, reverting, I don't know what they're doing at FIFA, but it kind of
I
makes
think
you feel like,
suspending, I think, is the technical term,
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
But
you don't know, what's gonna happen and who's gonna be or who's gonna have some benefit from this in the future. So
s
it just sends the wrong message to the sport, I
yeah.
feel. And given the
Yeah.
fact that even UEFA,
Well,
who's kind of
UEFA
the
UEFA was
little,
chomping at the bit to, like, "Oh, this is our
yeah,
chance to get in on this."
yeah,
So finish,
and
yeah. What did
you
UEFA tell the folks what UEFA said if they're not aware?
well, they're condemning it. They're condemning it. They say that it goes against the role regulations and that it's a big blow for the sports because the moment that you objective, the moment that you basically prefer altering a situation and bypassing objective leadership in the sense of a referee or a VAR room or whatever, then it's the beginning of the end, because you'll have appeals raining down on you all day long. Because imagine if something else happens, then of course a number of teams will feel encouraged to do the same and file in some sort of report to FIFA. And then FIFA probably will say, "Oh, we're not going to do that." But then you have those teams questioning the fact, "Well, why didn't you?" Because you did the same for the US or Balogun or Trump or whoever you did it for, and why not for us?
Mhm.
So it's a precedent that has a negative taste for
Well,
me.
so there's a couple things in that, because applying instituting a new precedent mid-tournament makes absolutely no sense and is unfair. I think that is just full stop, okay? I think, though, as Juventus fans, we're a big fan of reviewing faulty red cards and the like and correcting them, a la Kalulu still having to serve his suspension. And pretty much anybody in any league who had a red card had to serve at least 1 game,
Yeah.
even when it was unequivocally and universally considered wrong, right?
Yep.
I think from a precedential standpoint, correcting those types of mistakes in the future not as a part of this mid-tournament institution is a good thing. I think that's what we've been talking about in every one of these situations, right? But it's
Yeah.
not appropriate to do it in the middle of a tournament. It's not appropriate for them to do it in the middle of the tournament to benefit the host. It's not appropriate to do it in the middle of the tournament when other situations already in the tournament would have could have changed based on the application of this sudden precedent. And so I mean, as an American, and I've talked to actually a lot of soccer fans here about this, and I'm kind of annoyed with the amount of end justifies the means type reasoning to accepting and almost applauding this ruling when it runs so contrary to how this sport has been adjudicated. And so it leaves a yucky taste in my mouth. It
Also,
absolutely does.
it overshadows the US as a team, I feel, because
Yeah,
imagine the US
yeah.
has been playing really well, and we've spoken, or at least I've spoken to great lengths to other people about the US, because the US holds a special place in my heart, because my good friends, as you, Zach, and the other fellows from Turin Giants are from the US, but they've been playing really well. And imagine
Mhm.
now benefiting from this, while actually, I don't think the US even needed this,
It
because it puts
detracts from the effort from what they've done. It's going to detract from whatever result they get, especially if it's a win, a hard fought and deserved win. This has taken over the narrative surrounding this game and this team. It's put a lot of unnecessary pressure on the U.S. team that they never asked for.
no,
um,
no.
and so it's really is a shame, because now it's become a situation where, um, I now am rooting for probably the most hated team in the world. I think people will set
I don't
aside
think
England for a day.
I know I don't feel that the team is hated, but the fact that somebody who was considered a political leader, at least by name and function, has decided to spend his free time to interact with FIFA and kind of make decisions on, sporting behavior as well.
Mhm.
I just think that that was something neither the US people nor the Europeans or anybody else in this world needed at this time. And this just gives out the completely wrong message and gives more power to somebody who, in my opinion, we're not a political show, but has too much power already and is really making it, hard for hardworking, honest, lovable, good human beings that are aplenty in the US. And all we can see or hear, especially from media outlets, is, Trump's decision making or the way that he thinks about things, and makes us feel a bit biased towards the US,
Or
which
against, you
which
mean?
is which is sad, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
So we got a lot of people commenting in chat here. If you're from a country that's not US or Belgium, let us know what basically what the headline is in your country about the red card suspension surrounding Balogun. I'm curious to kind of see what the narrative is going around the world, and so please share that in the chat. I think when you talk about political power, and we are in a politics show, and I don't really want to get into any politics outside of how it pertains to football and the World Cup in this instance, but you have to, I'm going to speculate for a little bit. If the president of Mexico or Canada, or for the next World Cup, Spain, Portugal, or Morocco have an issue, they don't have the political power that the president of the United States has. And I don't know if we'd see a similar type decision should, Jonathan David been given a red card, or, I guess Bruno Fernandes next World Cup if he's still playing, or, uh, uh, um, whomever. So it feels yucky. It absolutely
Yeah,
feels it gives me a really bad taste in the mouth, because
and
ultimately there was a lot of talk in the lead up of this World Cup about political stuff with the U.S.
Yeah,
And so, and I don't really want to get into it, but there was, right. And so a lot of people were hesitant. Some people around the world were like, I don't want anything to do with it, and I'm not going to say anyone was wrong. But once the game started, a lot of people were like, man, there's some really good games going on. And then there was a lot of press from Americans and folks from around the globe about how when you strip away politics, you have just football fans, football fans in America, football fans from across the globe, all bonding over their life of this game. And I think that narrative superseding all the other noise is a good thing about sports. This as this unifying force. Well, once again, it's being disrupted by political nonsense that is tainting or has the potential to taint what I was thinking would be a really good matchup
yeah,
against a U.S. team that is not great, when you look at individuals, but is as a team playing really good ball versus, in my opinion, a Belgian team who is slightly underperforming. And so, as sort of the quote unquote underdog, I was excited about the prospect of going up against a European side and showing the world what this team can do. And even if we do
yeah,
that, if Balogun plays, more than 1 second this game and we win, the narrative is going to be that the U.S. cheated.
yeah, yeah. And that's a shame. And also another downside, I don't think the American people are thinking of it this way, but you kind of triggered the Belgian players. And
Of
I
course.
saw I saw every game that Belgium played.
Of course.
I know these are not the most beautiful games to see, but you could tell that they were lacking that grinta. The moments that they did show up with grinta, especially against Senegal, the final 15 minutes, they were a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Of course, there was some luck involved, don't get me wrong, but it was also in the game against Egypt. They had this kind of a 10 to 15-minute run where they were really dominant. And that was, for me, the true Belgium. And
Mhm.
kind of a sleeping giant in that sense. And with all this commotion and all this negativity and publicity around it, it could very well be that you woke the sleeping giant and those guys will be like, hey, we're starting 1-0 down already. Let's show them what we got. Like, we got
Mhm.
nothing to lose. Everybody, it's us against the world, that kind of thing. That could really boost the team's morale and performance. And I'm going to be very clear. As much as I love the U.S., the way they play, even the type of players they have, they're amazing. I, especially like Tillman a lot. But
Yeah.
if a Belgium team with the names that we have is on full force and everything's going well, there are not a lot of teams in the world that can stop them. If De Bruyne, Lukaku, Trossard are really in form and they play as a unit, as they did in Atlanta, I think for the friendly against the US.
Yeah, that was not a good
You know,
game.
no, but you also had like Doku coming up. You had Van Ack who played a very good game. A lot of people that were involved, and it was a really free flowing game, and showed the true potential of Belgium. There are not a lot of teams that can stop them, and from the US, it's the same, man, from their point of view, because the spotlight's on them. They were kind of comfortable being the hosting country. Oh, look, those fellas play nice football. Look at them go. That was kind of, their moment. They weren't considered among the greats. Now you have to forfeit that underdog position
Mhm.
and be the favorite against your own will, because I think the US would be more comfortable in that wait and see position and see what they can do and then strike as they can strike and play a very good game. Whereas now everyone's eyes fixated on them and delivering and performing. And we've seen as Juventus fans what happens with some players if they are faced with the situation of having to perform, having to win, having
Mhm.
to get results in, and how crippling that can be.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of on the fence there.
Yeah, I think you've already kind of touched on the next topic, though. So, unless somebody has any questions or something like to say about the red card and its suspension, we're going to move on and talk a little bit about our team. So, you talked a little bit about the promise of Belgium, and I want you to kind of expand on that. But I'm going to kind of start with my feelings about the U.S. to piggyback of where you ended your last answer, and the fact that it's honestly the fact that this team is it has to come to grips with the fact that when you're in the round of 16, based on how they've been playing, you can no longer necessarily call yourself an underdog. Everyone has a chance to win, and you need to go and you need to seize the game. I think we see this with a lot of teams, sort of sometimes playing for penalty kicks. And sometimes that works, but I think you need to go take these teams and these games by the scruff of the neck. And against the Belgian team, I look at how they played their last game, where for large swaths of the game they were dominated by Senegal, and frankly had no business winning that game in the end. I want to see us play on the front foot, and I think the core engine of this USA team is its midfield. I think the midfield of Tillman, McKennie, and Tyler Adams is a really strong midfield. There's a really good work rate. They're really good defensively. They're really good physically. If there's any weakness, it's I think in the inherent creative play. When you look at a lot of these other teams in the round of 16 and the ones who we already know are in the round of 8, USA does not have a creative force in the midfield on par with other teams, or certainly not a creative force like De Bruyne on Belgium. But with the hardworking aspect of this midfield, I think they're going to cause trouble for anybody simply due to their physicality. And it's through them that I think we have any hope of progressing in this tournament. And to go back to Frederic's point, I think I don't think we necessarily needed Balogun, who is by far the best striker on our team. This USA team could score in a myriad of different ways, and has in this tournament, from set pieces to possession base to counterattacking, from strikers through our midfielders. We are very good going forward. We're very good in press. I think I haven't seen very many teams, Frederic, and I'm curious to get your thought on this, that just from a physicality and work rate standpoint really sticks up with this USA team. I think being home field, being on home turf, I should say, and just the physical nature of our midfielders. Guys like Robinson and the back on the wing, and other guys, Balogun especially. We work really hard off the ball, on the ball, and I think that's really our best bet for stealing this game and progressing further in the competition.
Yeah, and I think, if you look at the facts, because we're talking about, being an underdog, but if you look at just the names, you have a Pulisic, you have a Dest, you have a McKennie, Richards, center back, also Freeman, who I think is a very, very good player. These are all guys that, it's not the USA of '94 anymore, where you had
what was that, Kobe Jones back then?
Yeah, and Alexi Lalas. Alexi Lalas, your favorite.
We don't really want to talk about Alexi Lalas. I think that was Kobe Jones days. That's when I started watching.
Yeah. But these were guys that were just getting into football in the sense that we're moving or starting to move towards Europe, getting signed by bigger teams, getting more experienced. While now you have a side that's so beautifully put together and has so much of a European vibe surrounding them in terms of football skill and mentality, that it's a very difficult hybrid team to play against. And very technical players. We know McKennie can do a lot of things technically, especially with through balls and whatever, apart from his work rate. You have Dest that could, send in crosses like no other. You have a Balogun who can, I think, is one of the best strikers in this tournament, full stop. I rate him very high. Pulisic, introduction. The only two weaknesses I see in this team is the center back. I think it was Reem.
Yeah.
Am I right?
No, you're right. You're right. So, and I was going to actually say the biggest weakness on our team is our defense. because Anthony Robinson and Serginho Dest are quite good going forward. I think Robinson is
Yeah.
a highly underrated player. But defensively, Ream is my age. Robinson and Dest like to get forward so much they leave gaps behind. And when you're talking about attacking options like Doku, Trossard, Lukaku, De Ketelaere, Salamakers, I mean, these are shifty, quick, physical guys who are going to be able to find that space behind Lukaku. We really don't have a guy who's going to pound on Lukaku. I mean, Lukaku, good or bad, is a giant monster up front that requires a physical battle, and I just don't think we have that guy. I think the to that end, and this will be sort of my closure of the USA team analysis, is we really need to play on the front foot to put a lot of pressure on the midfield to choke the ball out there before it can get up front. Because what USA has done really well this tournament is win the ball back and then distribute quickly into the channels, doing underlapping and overlapping runs to get the balls to guys like Pulisic or Balogun in the channel, to then create these sort of mismatches or odd man rushes or just chaos crashing into the box where we get fouls or we get scoring opportunities. If we let Belgium set up with possession and allow De Bruyne to work, or if we start relying on 1v1 physical battles against any version of Lukaku, we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and that was also a bit my summary about Belgium, and kind of the fact that if Belgium get to be a team in the true sense of the word, because you saw it in the Senegal game as well. I think it was Tielemans arguing with Trossard. They almost threw hands and whatever. And after that moment, a flip switched. They became a team. Everybody started fighting, started tackling, started running, started covering, started pressing, and then you can see what they can do. If Belgium starts the way they started against the rest of the teams and how they played this tournament, they'll be very laid back. They won't put up high pressure. But if the US fail to score, that plays into Belgium's hands because they can choose their momentum. They have that knowledge, that experience to select certain points in the game where they decide to be menacing, and they can hurt, especially with the back line that the US has. They could do a lot of damage. Because I'm not the biggest Lukaku fan in the world, but if you see him playing this tournament after only playing 60 minutes, I think, of football this season, being that determined, being that present, and I'm not saying he's the best scorer or the most beautiful player to look at, but he's a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
He's a force to be reckoned with. As is Trossard, who's growing game after game. He started,
He's been real good.
Yeah, he's
in my
been real
opinion.
good. Yeah, but same for me, because I was thinking Trossard, and we always get that flashback, and Trossard is a local guy from around my parts.
Mm-hmm.
And there was always kind of a bit of shade being thrown at him in the sense that he was good, but he always thought himself better than he actually was. But he proved everybody wrong this season, especially with Arsenal. Then you have De Bruyne, who's gaining match rhythm. He's getting fitter by the game, getting more decisive as well, and a bit more menacing. Doku, who had a lot of bad luck, having laryngitis, having flying back and forth because he happily became a dad. These are all kind of negatives that didn't help Belgium a lot, but they're kind of ebbing away at this point. And it'll be interesting to see how they'll implement this in this game. And it's kind of weird to me because I saw the golden generation who didn't win anything. And that was a really good generation. Believe me, those guys know how to ball. But I think with the talent of hindsight, this team could end up a lot more further than the golden generation if they can get their mentality and their sense of being a team together.
Well, I mean, I think PSG's proven that You don't need the best players. Not that not that this iteration of PSG is rolling out
You hear that,
scrubs.
Digre? You hear that, Digre?
But so like PSG, they had the trifecta, right? Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar, and
Neymar.
They didn't win anything, or they didn't win the Champions League. They get rid of these guys. Obviously, they bring in very good players nonetheless, but a younger core who ends up playing together better as a team, you see them to be more successful.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess that's really the vibes that the USA team has been rolling on, right? Being
Yeah.
significantly better, the sum of their parts being significantly better than the sum of the individuals, because we see McKennie game in, game out, and we've talked about how he's a good player, he's this versatility, but I think the common refrain, correct me if I'm wrong, is that he would not start on a Juve team of old. Right?
No.
I mean, these are sort of, Tillman is a very good player, and I think he's going to have a great career, but he's not elite. He's not elite yet. Tyler Adams arguably was better last World Cup. He's had some issues in the last 4 years too. But we're seeing these guys rise up and play really, really well together. I think Pulisic, if anything, is almost like a distraction, because I don't think he is a top 3 most important player on our team. I think Balogun, if he plays, if you just joined us, rewind to the first 25 minutes of this episode for discussion on that. But I think Balogun, Tillman, and McKennie are the most important players on this team by their contributions in pressing, winning the ball, distributing, and finishing within the middle of the pitch. I think I have to agree with you, though, that pound for pound, if you look at certainly the attacking options, I think Belgium has some weaknesses in the back line. I'm curious on how your comfort level of your defense. But I think if you look at the attacking option, midfield options, Belgium versus USA, I think on paper, there's very little comparison just by the names that you see. I think pound for pound, every single player attacking option and midfield option in Belgium is just a notch above the counterpart on the USA team.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned it, because we have the same weakness as you have, and that's the back line. Even though we still have, I don't rate Thea that high. I do rate the Kuiper very high, as I do Brandon Mechelen, both Bruges players who still have that Bruges mentality, in the sense that we can go forward, but our first priority is defending, and defending well. And they do that very good. On the other hand, on the right back, you have Castagne, who, in my opinion, maybe the weakest of the 4-man back line. Given also his age, he has that experience, and I think that's the reason Garcia fields him. But that's the only pro I find with Castagne, because it takes him too long to get back. He often makes runs that make no sense whatsoever, leaves the back line exposed, leaves Tielemans exposed. And I think that's going to be the key factor in this game. How well are we going to provide Tielemans with certain balls and certain dynamics within the game? How can we make Tielemans better this game? Because if Tielemans gets ball in, and he, has the confidence, and especially has the skill set to do so, he's a very difficult opponent to play against. So you could see that against Senegal, and the way he took that penalty, because that was not an easy penalty in the dying seconds of a game, converting all but a loss into a win. If you have the composure to do that, and I was very surprised to see a proper penalty being kicked this tournament, because I see everybody sliding and doing step overs before shooting, and waiting half a minute and putting an espresso first and then shooting and all this kind of shit. It was nice to see a clean take a penalty, top corner. So if you have the confidence to do that, and if you have the confidence also to be on the pitch and shout against your fellow teammates in moments when it gets rough, like a captain should, then you have what the young people call aura. I call it talent. And I hope if they can provide him, and McKennie won't choke him to death, footballing wise. But that's the difficulty. I think they're gonna put McKennie on Tielemans,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll just
Adams
balance
on De
each other
Bruyne.
out.
But see,
Yeah,
like that's
and
what that's kind of what I wanted your take. If we think about it and we just say, you know what, backlines are a wash. Attack both teams have attacking talent. I think it comes down to the midfield battle, and I think there's way more technical ability on the Belgian midfield, but there's much more strength and work rate in the US one. That's my take, and I
uh,
think if you put
yeah,
a Tyler Adams on De Bruyne and McKennie on Tielemans, I think they can stick with them all game. I think they can
yeah,
stick with them
yeah,
all game. They can pressure them physically. They can put them in uncomfortable situations and maybe lead to a couple of breaks. If you don't have that Belgian team that you were saying that comes together, play like a team, the
yeah,
Belgium that we saw for honestly the vast majority of this tournament. Okay, they've been
yeah,
playing
yeah,
way
yeah,
more disjointed this tournament than together.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
there's going to be opportunities for the American team to get on the board, or at least get some really good attacks in and opportunities. Certainly earlier in this game when we're going to be coming out on fire, just with that home field rush and
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
and fervor. So I think let's get into predictions. Unless there's something more you want to break down, I'm curious on how you see
Uh,
this game shaking out.
I'm very interested because we don't have the official lineups yet. I
Not
think.
yet. No, I mean, the
Um,
game's not going to start for what, two and a quarter, right?
yeah,
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 from
yeah.
now.
It's gonna be difficult for me to stay awake, but
Yeah.
I'll stay awake though. But I'm curious to see if Garcia will field Van Aken
What's your opinion
because
on
for
him?
me,
Because I haven't seen him much before this tournament. At all,
he's
actually, before this tournament.
slow, but I like him. Technically, he's one of the most gifted players in this Belgian team, even though he doesn't look like it. He's for me very underrated, and I think if our feelings are true and we'll have McKennie Tillemans duel and an Adams De Bruyne duel, that leaves up space on the left. And if you have on that left Van Aken and that two-man midfield with Tillemans and Doku, that could be our ticket because Van Aken, is especially with through passes, like he's one of the best. Pair that with Doku if he has a good game. Um, Maybe even a Luke Bakio who gets to be subbed in, who's also very dangerous and very underrated in my opinion. You could be onto something there. So it's kind of and that's going to be the difficulty for the US. Where are we going to put that work rate and that combined strength in? Because it's going to be improbable that they'll cover all of the field for 90 minutes.
Hmm.
You can do that in a pressing situation for 10 to 15, get a bit of room. But what are you going to do with those spaces in between? Are you still going to play man to man on that De Bruyne, Tielemans midfield and leave Van Aken? Or are you going to switch? Are you going to put an extra man on Doku, but leave De Bruyne, free?
So
It's
just talk.
it's it's
Yeah. Just talking about Vanaken, is the sub for him or the alternate for him Nicholas Raskin? Who would be the other
well,
midfielder?
yeah. That's kind of what we're trying to get together in terms of he didn't have a firm place. So he could play on Tielemans' place, he could play on De Bruyne's place. Uh, he can even be interchanged with Raskin, where Raskin takes De Bruyne's place and Van Aken drops down a line.
So you're
So
saying
he
so you're saying his name's not Raskin
no, it
because it
isn't.
is
It's
over here.
okay. Well, because I feel that because you guys are the hosting countries, I think it makes complete sense to call him Raskin. So
No, I'm teasing. That that
that
is that is
being
that's
that being said,
classic American butchering right there.
it's okay. It's okay. We get that a lot over here in Belgium, but you could place him anywhere, and he's good in any position in midfield if he has his day.
Hmm.
What Van Aken needs is somebody to coach him because he isn't the fastest player on the pitch. but he has that insight, that momentum, which makes him very dreaded. And you could see that, in the Champions League games as well that he played with Bruges. He was always top two, top three players of that particular game in Champions League. So it's going to be difficult, but I don't think he'll start. I don't think he'll start, and I don't even think that we'll play with that two-man drop-down midfield. I think he'll maybe even start with De Ketelaere and Lukaku up front, and just put Tielemans behind midfield or in between defense and midfield, which, in my opinion, would be the best thing to do.
I think that I would love that because it means in the midfield you'd be outnumbered, and
Yeah,
I think our midfield, again, not being as technical, but just from the work rate, as will it be able to, 3-on-2, will be able to snuff out passing lanes and make things uncomfortable. Honestly, I think the most underrated player on this USA team is Anthony Robinson on the left. I'm going to be looking very closely at his matchup versus Doku.
yeah.
Because I think both of them are very good players in my opinion. Doku obviously much more known internationally, but I think if I'm nervous about any matchup, it's say you start out on the left against Dest. I think Dest is an absolute defensive liability, and that's an area that can be exposed should your midfielders be allowed space and time to do what we know they can do. But and maybe it's the optimist in me. But I think that the midfield battle is one that this USA team will win for large portions of the match. And I think that that's going to lead to better opportunities for us. And I do not have faith in this Belgian team based on their inconsistency that they're going to come in, even as incentivized as they are, due to the nonsense that's been going on, that sort of like locker room and material for them to get hyped up. I am not convinced by this team. USA has been playing a lot better, and so I think if I'm gonna make my prediction, I think this is a 2-1 victory for the USA to progress and play Spain.
I think it's going to be a 2-2 and Belgium win with penalties.
I think if it goes to penalties, I think the USA lose. Ream is 4 billion years old back there on defense, and I say that affectionately because I think we're the same age. But the weakest position on this USA team is goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And
Is that Freeze?
Yeah, I think that's who they're going to play, because I think they threw in Turner against Turkey, the game where we played all our backups.
Yeah.
But all of our goalkeepers stink. I mean, there was a day and age, granted, when America was much worse, that our best player was always our goalkeeper. Tim Howard, Casey Keller, and these guys that many of you probably have never heard of. But they were our best players. But now our goalkeeping team is horrible, which is actually kind of interesting because other than the Turkey game where we let in 3 goals and lost, where we played our entire B team except for McKennie, we've only let in the garbage time goal against Paraguay when we were already winning 4-0. So we this team, with having an old guy in the defense, and I've been going on and on about the defensive liabilities or the weaknesses of our fullbacks and of our goalkeeper, we've only let in 1 goal with our starters.
But isn't that like, if you look at World Cup winners throughout the years, there were always like at least 1 or 2 games during that tournament where you thought, oh, this is going to go wrong. I remember 2006, it was Italy, Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of these moments where you think that, oh my God, it's not going to happen. But they actually overcome those moments of difficulty, and it makes them stronger. And in that respect, I think Belgium had that with that Senegal game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at it, and I'm not trying to diminish the US is playing style or whatever they put in, because we all know what they can do and how amazing and good of a team they actually are. But they haven't had that much to play against this tournament, in the sense that the Turkey game, you lost, but you were playing with your B side, and it was a game of little to no importance. Paraguay was Paraguay, kind of a, how shall I put it? Not the Paraguay that we saw against France, in the sense that they were a bit more open, I feel, or they played more openly against the US than they did against
Germany.
France or Germany. Was it Germany?
I
No,
think that Germany's
France.
the one who they beat. Wasn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, no, France is still in. I think Paraguay knocked out Germany, which is why I was making faces at you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because
I'm
that's you're diminishing the Paraguay team that knocked out an albeit extremely underwhelming Germany side, but nonetheless,
yeah. Well, you know where I'm getting at, but I feel that game, Belgium had that already.
mhm.
So it could be, something that can work in their positive, in their favor or not. But I don't feel that USA has been put to the test yet. And
I agree
I'd
with
be
that.
very unhappy if the first real test was against Spain, because we don't know how the US will react in difficult situations, if
I'm
you know
actually
what
going to
I
push
mean.
back. I'm going to push back on that because I will say I agree with you that every single team the USA has played poorly. But the USA was winning 1-0 against Bosnia when Balogun was red carded, and we won the game 2-0. Right?
Yeah.
That shows a resilience, that shows a focus, right? That is indicative of a team who's approaching these games in the right way. So while that's not,
Yeah.
Bosnia is not Spain, I think, and certainly the Bosnia game wasn't scoring 3 goals starting in the 86th minute against Senegal, which obviously had to have left the Belgian team hyped, right? It still is something that they can hang their cap on to say that we've suffered a little bit and we've come out and we've proven ourselves able to overcome.
Yeah, true. I think we can still debate this for 2 hours until the game starts, but I think we can both agree that it's going to be a nice game. And I think that we're both a bit sad that it's been overshadowed by this whole Trump FIFA circus, which doesn't frankly help Belgium, but it doesn't help the US either in that respect.
It hurts
And I
everything.
think it hurts, and it hurts us as the fans. I mean, I see
Mhm.
people who have no interest in the US or Belgium taking a stand, picking sides, and that shouldn't happen. I feel that shouldn't happen. I think as a World Cup, you should be able to enjoy it even if your team or your country is not playing. As an objective supporter or fan of the game, you have the right to watch a nice, classic football game with all the right ingredients to just sit back, relax, absorb, and remember years to come. And
Mhm.
it was kind of taken away from every football loving person on this planet by those actions. And that's the thing I regret most.
Yeah, well, we'll close it out. We got a 2-1 USA victory from me. We have a 2-2 in the first 90, settled in penalties with a win for Belgium from Frederic. You heard it here first. For those who are just joining us, I think Beppe had a parallel episode going on. Joey asks, Zach, did you guys talk about what you thought about the red and Balogun? Yes, I'd say what was about the first 25 or 30 minutes of this episode was a discussion on that. We tracked kind of the events, what we felt about it. I think that we kind of largely agreed, right, Frederic, and that it was the wrong decision to suspend it. It made very, very little sense. The precedential
Yeah.
aspect is lacking. It creates a lot of confusion. And ultimately, it means that politics is overshadowing, as you just said, a clash between two teams that we were looking forward to. So um, that's about it. If you want to see that full discussion again, rewind to the first 25, 30 minutes of this episode. Just real quickly, let's just look ahead very, very quickly. So the winner of this game plays Spain, a Spain team that has played really well. I do not think they've let in a goal this tournament. I think they're one of like other before the Mexico game. I think it was just them in Mexico. Now Mexico's out. I believe they are the only team left that has yet to concede a goal, other than their first game, which was the 0-0 draw against Cape Verde, which obviously was much talked about. I think they've controlled games well. They've scored. They haven't really conceded a lot of good scoring chances. I think they're one of the better performing teams in this. Frederic, do either USA or Belgium have a chance against this Spain team?
Yeah, yeah, and today's game or the bits that I saw whilst nodding off, kind of put me in that direction in the sense that if you press this Spain hard, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do, and even the game tonight, Ronaldo couldn't press anymore. Ronaldo's really starting to show his age. Like
Yeah, he's done.
he's done. But if you had a striker there with more pressing power, more athleticism, or more freshness, or how you want to put it, um, you could see Portugal trying to raise the tempo, but Ronaldo couldn't cope. Bernardo Silva was just not up to par tonight. Conceição was brought in too late, in my opinion, because he's that typical player that can make something out of nothing. But it was a weak Portugal side, but they still managed to make it quite difficult for Spain. And I can't help but feel that if they play a very dynamic team, which could well be the US, or the US have shown that they're a dynamic team, or Belgium could evolve into a more dynamic team with a lot more freshness and a lot more stability, they could really make it difficult for Spain, I feel.
Ignoring completely today's game,
Yeah.
who do you think, based on their performances and their predicted starting 11, would have a better chance versus Spain, US or Belgium?
US. US.
Really?
US. Yeah, US can win that midfield battle easily. Easily. And if you have won that battle, but you can keep the press up against Spain and keep them far away from your goal as possible, it's just a matter of time before they'll fumble or do something strange. And then, of course, you're not going to get 7 to 8 open chances a game. But if you can, consolidate the one or two that you're going to get, then you'll start seeing them panic, I feel. I don't rate this Spain as highly as you do. I think everything went smooth for them, but everything went in their favor as well. If I look at today's game, I feel Porro, what was the name? The right back,
Pedro
I
Porro?
think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
should have been sent off first half already for what he did over and over again to Felix. Didn't even got a yellow, I feel. I don't see that happening against McKennie or whatever. But yeah, if Ronaldo was a team player and he was, like Morton said, would have been subbed in, they may have had a chance. But yeah,
Yeah, I think this. Eh, no offense, but this Belgian team has yet to do anything or play with any consistency where I would feel comfortable picking them as favorites against any of the teams that are still in the tournament.
yeah,
Not to
yeah.
say that they can't do it. I think they absolutely have the talent to do it. It's just they haven't been showing with any level of consistency playing as that team. I think the US have, certainly more than Belgium. I just don't see this USA team being able to wrestle the ball away from Spain and with any consistency, and therefore allowing Spain to have possession and then get the ball deep in against our fullbacks, who are going to struggle against Yamin and the other folks that they have and other attacking options that Spain has. I think ultimately Spain's struggle is who's going to ultimately have the finished product to put the ball in the net. But I think they'll have this USAT under so much pressure that ultimately, whether it's in the first minute or in the 120th, one will squeak through. And so they're a team that, from a matchup standpoint, I think USA doesn't actually do that well against. And one that would be, I would pick us to lose that game.
We'll see. We'll see. It's still a long way to go.
Well, I mean,
At least 90 minutes.
yeah, there's at least 90 minutes to go, or in your case, Frederic, 120 based on your prediction.
Who
I think,
knows?
folks, we can leave it there. We did a good hour on the Belgian USA game. I'm really excited to blot out the noise and just to enjoy, my nation's team against Frederic's, just for at least some mild trash talking
Yeah.
purposes,
Yeah.
as it should be. Beyond that, this is a scoop. Um, so, Frederic, do you have any just real quick hits on the Juventus front?
Real quick hits. Juventus are still stalling for the goalkeeper because they won't. These are Carnevali's words, not mine. They will not make a mistake on the goalkeeper. So everything you've been reading about Vicario being close, blah 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 blah, that's nonsense. Juventus have no problem putting up cash or whatever, but they want to make the right choice. I saw something pop up from Massara as a technical director. Um, well, it's just a matter of time before Modesto leaves. So we need another
Yeah,
technical
yeah.
director. Tognozzi was in pole for a long time, but it's like I said, it's going to be difficult to pry Tognozzi away from that big global concern where he's now, being set as the forefront of, probably because he'll move to Nottingham as well. So goalkeeper is a priority. Striker is still a priority. Like I said in the last scoop, everybody was saying like, "Oh, but Muani's close. It's gonna happen." I still have the same feeling that it's not gonna happen because PSG won't accept anything other than 40 million, and I don't think that Juventus wants to pay 40 million for Muani. Let's pay attention to Sorlot. He's been on the list
Again,
a long time.
yeah.
From what I could tell, he's not a Carnevali name. Sorry, a Comoli name. So it might well be that we progress with that. But also, I hear a lot of talk concerning Pellegrino from Parma.
Hey, that's gonna make some of our listeners happy. I forget who it is, but we always have a few folks coming in and asking about Pellegrino.
It's not in a concrete stage yet, but there have been some talks also for Suzuki.
I mean,
Uh,
he was a good keeper this year in Serie A. I think he had a very good World Cup as well, but that
yeah,
usually means his price goes up.
yeah. It kind of depends because if you're in talks with Parma and let's say you have two players that you're interested in, and maybe you have somebody who you can sell to them as counterweight in the sense of maybe a Miretti. And this is just conjunction on my part, but I know that Parma likes Miretti, maybe even Adzic, because there was talk about him being loaned out to Parma in January already.
Hmm.
You could find a good price, maybe, just maybe it's kind of worth doing it, but nothing concrete yet. But like I said, especially goalkeeper wise, Juventus are taking their time because they don't want to make a mistake. And we're now starting to see Carnevali's movements in terms of mercato, more Italian focused. Ecator that came out of the blue, uh, Pellegrini. Not to say that it'll be the best thing we ever bought or the best player we ever bought, but you could see that this is Carnevale's signature moves.
Hmm.
And maybe it's a good thing for Juventus because we tried with foreigners and established veterans and whatever ex World Cup winners, and that didn't amount to anything. So maybe it's time to get back, do it old school style, and get talents in and try to get them to be next level. Um,
I mean, then again, there's a compromise, right? And not to belabor this point, but it's just like we played Bodo Glimt, and we were absolutely just our entire midfield was bossed by Patrick Berg, who is having a good World Cup, who still plays in Norway, and conceivably would not be
Yeah,
bank breaking because the finances of that league are such that they're not Club Brugge who could just rake you over the coals with transfer fees.
yeah,
You could get Patrick Berg for whatever. I mean, Juve could buy him today.
yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
there's certain situations where there's good players out there, and you need to be able to tackle and attack those opportunities. Juventus has not been good at that. So I think you need to do. I think there's room for doing both.
yeah,
Ultimately, I want whatever is going to be successful. But I think focusing too much in one area means it kind of undermines your own bargaining power. If you're just looking
yeah, yeah,
internationally,
yeah.
then people know that and they work that against you. If you're just looking domestically, if you're looking at a few Parma players, they're going to use that against you. And so I think you need to
Yeah.
have those alternatives
I,
using scouting and sort of and global or at least regional networking in order to have alternatives at play to build a team that's competitive and well rounded.
yeah, 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 yeah. I agree, and I think they're planning on doing so because I've also heard, Goretzka still warming up a bit in the sense that he made it very clear that he doesn't want to move to the US, doesn't want to move to Saudi Arabia or whatever, or so he wants to stay in Europe. Then, of course, you have to look at, the feasibility of the package, and from what I could tell, he's asking 6.5 million net a year,
Hmm.
which we can fork over, but also a 15 million sign-on bonus. So, if you have that and you place it next to, let's say, a Cassier, and Cassier says, "Hey, I'll come and join for 4 million, and give me 5 million as a signing bonus," then you're still fishing in the same pond qualitatively, I think, because I put Cassier and Goretzka in the same league in terms of talent, in terms of whatever.
Hmm.
But you have to look at, how are we gonna cover those steps? How can we make sure that we have a valid alternative plan B, if plan A fails? Komoli didn't do that, and that is what kind of set us back in the past. And I think Carnevali is not the person that's going to do that. Also, Muaremovic is like I said, I wasn't too enthusiastic, but he's asking for more than we thought in terms of salary, which made
Hmm.
Juventus a bit hesitant. Bournemouth, Sunderland, and Newcastle approached his manager, but I have no idea of the outcome. Um,
There's a couple quick questions on specific players and whether you heard anything. El Capitano asks if you heard anything about Lorenzo Palmisani, the goalkeeper from Frosinone.
there are a lot of goalkeepers I heard about, but nothing concrete. They want the number one goalkeeper, and Palmisani could be an add-on for the second or third
Yeah, he
goalkeeper
wouldn't be
spot.
that. He wouldn't be number one.
No, so that's the icing on the cake, but
Yeah,
that's not the priority right now.
and then forgive me if I mispronounce his name, but another specific question on
Unai
Azadine Onahi. Yeah, um, from Morocco.
haven't haven't heard anything, so I don't know if that popped up in the media or whatever. I do know that he has a clause, 25 million euro clause, I think, but it'd be very foolish of Juventus to assess Wani on the last game or the couple of games he played for Morocco, because he hasn't been known throughout his career to be the most productive striker. And I think that Juventus are searching for that productive, especially midfield, even somebody who
Hmm.
can, get some goals in. So my money for now is the goalkeeper, and
Speaking of, Lucky asks about Nyland, the goalkeeper for Norway, who is having a good tournament, but is 35 years old and available on a free.
yeah,
I feel like this is, to me, Like, don't fall into the trap of going after the guy who's hot for the tournament, because we see this every World Cup or every Euros, every Copa America and so forth. Somebody is just really hot, right?
Yeah.
And I think at 35, maybe you bring him in as a backup if you're really starving for somebody, but I wouldn't bring him in as a starter.
Juventus made it very clear that they want somebody they can count on, who can get them 8 to 10 points, who can win them 8 to 10 points a season. I don't think Vozinha, Nyland, whoever is that, not even Vicario. So in my, I wouldn't rule Svilar out eventually.
Bring in Vicario is not a number one goalkeeper. Like, his last
No,
season
no.
was so bad that you wouldn't bring. That is not the statement that you want to make.
No,
like, if
no,
you
no,
say,
no,
"Hey,
no.
Vicario, come in. We'll give you some cup matches or whatever. Let's see if you can get back
No.
into form." Blah blah. Okay, fine, but that's not a number one goalkeeper.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's why it's taking this long, because in all honesty, if we were to settle for just a basic good goalkeeper, then we would have gotten somebody already for like a small fee. And that
Yeah,
that didn't happen. So I think they're really taking their time to make the right choice. I also saw Zaniolo's name popping up. Word is that he's closer to staying at Udinese than he is at joining Juventus.
I'm okay with that.
So
I'm okay with
yeah,
that. I think
yeah,
with the injury and the personality type stuff in his past, don't want to slander the guy, but there's been some reports as to certain behavior. I think another year under his belt of demonstrating maturity and physicality, I think, could be important for me before I could
yeah,
trust Pregame into the team, a
yeah,
team that we've talked on and on and on about lacking definitive leaders
yeah,
who would have been able to reorient a player who is acting out.
yeah.
Like, I think
Agreed.
we can leave it there, Frederic. I
Yeah,
will close by simply saying that if I'm not mistaken, there's only one Juventus player still in the World Cup, and he just so happens to be a member of Team USA. So at least for that reason, I am hoping that they go deeper in this competition. It has nothing to do with the fact that we just so happen to be playing a team
no,
from your home country. Not at all whatsoever.
nope, nope,
Um,
nope.
well, Imran says Nico, and I think Frederic, do you want to close any news about Nico Gonzalez with Argentina?
It's pretty much done. Let's wait for Nico to return. From what I could tell, the talks between Juventus and Atletico were very positive, and I think they came up with sort of a combined fee, a fixed package, and then a small package in bonuses, which should amount up to north of 27 million. Now it's just waiting on Nico, because Nico has made it very clear, as a lot of players this World Cup did, that they don't want to hear anything regarding transfers, possible offers, whatever. So I think that's the main reason while the deal is
Mm-hmm.
still stalling a bit. So for me, like, it hasn't changed much since pre World Cup. I think Nico will be a Atletico Madrid player when he returns from his vacation, or even amidst his vacation.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for doing this episode. It was a quick sort of like, wait a minute, our teams are playing each other today. You want to do an
Yeah, it was
episode?
awesome. Yeah, and I was like, awesome! What a fucking good idea. And it hadn't even, I just hadn't had time to think about, this fact that we're playing each other. And but since you're an honorary Belgian member, at least at the end of July you are.
Yes, I will be there.
It would be nice if you bought the World Cup winners shirt in
Okay.
Belgium as a
If
memento.
if 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 Belgium beats USA, then when I'm in Belgium, we'll go buy me a jersey, okay? All
But
right.
well, we're gonna visit that retro boutique that Beppe and
That's
me
okay.
just.
So I just
So
have one
maybe you could
request.
even buy the retro one.
I
Yeah.
just have one request, is that Lukaku is not the name on the back.
No, no,
Okay,
no.
thank you.
I wouldn't do that to my
Okay.
worst enemy, let alone
Okay,
one of
okay,
my
okay,
best friends. So,
okay.
you're good there. You're
Okay,
good
okay.
there. You're good there.
All right, which means though that if USA win, we're gonna have to figure something out, Frederic.
Yeah. I think we
I
do.
think you might have to don the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, no worries.
Very good.
No worries.
Well, I know it's late for you. I know you were trying to stay up for the game, so I was doing my part to try to keep you awake. But
You
alas,
did
I have
very
to
well,
let you
my
go.
friend.
I have to cook dinner and go get my son. But best of luck to anybody in
Yeah,
Europe and across the globe who wants to stay up and watch that game. Hopefully, it is worth your time and your views. We know time is valuable, so hopefully, it's a good game. I'm certainly excited about it, and depending on the result, Frederic, and any movement in the transfer market, we can have a follow-up episode on how we feel about our analysis about the team, about anything going on with Juventus, and maybe, just maybe, as the fans wanted me to do, I can share the picture of me in my full Scottish tartan outfit
you should. It's
from
it's a
Scotland.
glorious sight.
Yes,
Glorious
Frederic has
sight to
seen it.
behold.
Frederic has seen it. I
Sneak
was like
preview.
this close to buying it and bringing it home, but alas, it was just a rental for the event, and I did not because it was
Suited you
like
well. I
would have been
can
like,
spoiler that.
well,
It fit like a glove.
if you wanted to send me about 600-700 pounds, then I could have brought it home. All right.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't like you that much in a kilt, so
fair enough. Well, Josh, Calcio, Imran, Lauda, everybody else who's been engaging throughout this live show, thank you so much, Frederic. It's great to be back. It's great to do this again. Great to see you. Thank you for
so
your
much.
time. And everybody, until we speak again, as always, well, it's off season, but I can still say Forza Juve.
Yeah.